You are tuned into another episode of The Last Word on Rugby. Welcome back, and it's been another great weekend in the United Rugby Championship for the four South African franchises. Again, four victories and another successful hunt in terms of the top eight places in the competition. Pity about the Sharks not picking up that bonus point that would have helped them quite a lot, but still, they are inching ever closer to the top eight. Now, with me today to discuss that, the upcoming Champions Cup and Challenge Cup matches, and then, of course, a bit of Springbok news sprinkled with the franchise chat, John Goliath and Mike Greenaway. If you haven't yet, please click that like button, subscribe to our channel at the Clutch ZA, and then share this podcast as we look to bring you the latest South African and international news on the last word on rugby. Now, guys, another interesting weekend of results for the South African sides. They're creeping closer, like I mentioned, to the top eight. And hopefully by the end of, what can I say, the end of April, we will see all four South African sides in the top eight. Mike, just a quick, uh,
Yeah,
your dissecting of what transpired this weekend, starting with that Friday clash of the Sharks.
yeah. Look, another clean sweep, but I think all of our teams found it harder work, and that's kind of a
Mm,
pattern I've
mm.
picked up over the years of the URC. Is when these teams come from Europe, and they usually come on at least two match tours. So, in other words, this weekend's teams all played the week before, but they just moved around to different venues in South Africa. And the trend I've always seen is that they're always better in their second game in
In the
South
second,
Africa.
yeah.
Um, and I think this time it was maybe exacerbated a bit, or if that's the right word, for the South African teams because the Six Nations guys filtered back into
Mm,
to these teams as well. But yeah, especially a team like Munster, getting back two critical players in their scrum half, Craig Casey, and their fly half, Jack Crowley, made a huge
yeah.
difference. Um, so yeah, look, I mean, it was always going to be tougher for the South African teams, but they hung in, and another clean sweep. The Sharks, while their game management, I thought in that second half was not good. I think if they just made some better decisions, they could have pushed for that extra try. I
Mm,
thought they were maybe kicking themselves that they could have been better.
yeah.
But yeah, they moved from 11th to 10th. It's like clawing away there.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, better 4 points than none.
Yeah. John, I don't know. Mike actually touched on a very good point there in terms of those Six Nations guys filtering back in and looking forward the goings it's going to get tougher for the South African sides, especially when they have to tour overseas now. I think it's the Bulls and the Sharks going overseas
Mm.
for two games and then they back for two more games and they the closest teams to falling out of the top eight. So
Yeah.
do you think that that filtering back in of the Six Nations guys and then of course the pressure of making it and staying in the top eight is kind of going to get to some of the South African teams? We saw the Bulls just pulled it through and the Sharks couldn't get that bonus point.
Yeah, I think at the moment, at this stage of the season, is all about momentum. And if you look at the South African teams, I think the team with the most momentum at the moment is probably the Lions.
Yeah.
And they are sitting pretty now in the middle of the top eight, and they've got two home games to look forward to. So
Mm.
if the one is going to obviously be a difficult one against the Glasgow Warriors, but I think if they get something out of that and then maybe get another win, they would definitely fancy themselves at the moment. I'm a bit worried about the Sharks because they are still about 2 wins away, I think, from getting into the top eight
Mm.
at this point.
Mm.
So they've got a big decision to make. I think we spoke about it a couple of weeks ago when Mike mentioned it, is that they've basically got to decide now, are they going to have a full go at the Challenge Cup, and try to win it to qualify for the Champions Cup through that, or are they gonna go gung ho? I think it's gonna be a bit of both, where they'll probably try and finish as high as they can. It's a massive uphill battle. They'll need some help from other teams as well.
Mm.
But I think at the moment, as far as the South African teams are concerned, the Stormers, you can basically pencil them in. It's for them, it's trying to finish in the top two to get that home quarterfinal, but also home semi-final, which is very
Mm.
important, possible home final. But the Lions, for me, they are the
Yeah.
team with all the momentum, and they've got another two home matches to go before they have to leave these shores again. And so they know that if they can get 2 wins there, they've got a
Mm.
massive chance of hosting a quarterfinal at Ellis Park.
Yeah,
And what makes it even sorry, Leighton, just quickly, what even better for the Lions is they haven't got the schlep now of going overseas to play in a Challenge Cup
yeah,
fixture. So I mean, that's going to take it out of the Bulls and the Sharks. They could end up spending a long time overseas, because they both got. I mean, if they have to win their Challenge Cup games, I think they stay on for another week to
then
play
yeah, then
a further game. And then the Sharks have got two games against Welsh teams. The Bulls have
yeah,
also got two games over there. Suddenly you're overseas for a month.
for a month,
So
yeah.
yeah, Lions are looking extremely good without having all this overseas travel.
Yeah, and to get back to what you mentioned about overseas teams coming to South Africa in that first week after a break in the URC, the Warriors will be coming to Ellis Park after potentially two difficult knockout championship matches, and they will then come to Ellis Park. So will they come? Will they come with their strongest team,
Mm.
or will they send
Mm.
a team that gives some of their players a break in that first week because they are playing at altitude, and then they can send the strong guys, the Huey Pilotus and the Joneses and all of them directly to Cape Town, have them spend a week extra in Cape Town, and then prepare for a 145 game in that second week against the Stormers. I think they would probably target that one to ensure that if they beat the Stormers, they will go, I think it's 10 or 11 points clear at the top of the table, which gives them grace for that last two, traveling back home, gives them grace for that last two league matches that they have left. So interesting dynamic in terms of which way the teams will go. It's already it's not confirmed, but there's murmurs that the Stormers will be sending a mixed team to Stade Mayol in France for their Toulon game on Saturday. So I just want to see how the rest of the teams play this, apart from the Lions. Now, of course, they are resting, but how the rest of the South African teams play this up. Because, yes, we don't want to see understrength South African teams in
Mm.
the Champions Cup and Challenge Cup, but also critical phase of the
Mm.
URC. And it's important that as many teams make it in the top eight for South Africa to ensure not just they play knockout rugby, but they qualify for the Champions Cup for next
Mm.
season. Hmm.
The Lions have got all everything in their favor because now
Yeah.
while other teams need to rotate, they can give these guys now a couple of weeks off and then go again with their strongest team.
Mm.
But as far as the Stormers is concerned, that is sort of that period where it went pear-shaped for them when they arrested their players against Harlequins. And remember, they suffered their first defeat of the season and they got a
Mm.
60-point hammering there. And from then on, confidence seemed to dip, and then they lost a few. They lost 3 matches on the bounce in the URC. Obviously, they beat Leicester before that, but it's so key momentum at this stage of the season. So while you
Yeah.
need to rotate, you also have to be wary about losing that momentum.
Yeah, yeah. Mike, touching on the 3 games for the South African sides
Mm,
coming up this weekend, just quickly your take on what you'd like to see. I've obviously
yeah.
given my views. I'm not too sure
Mm,
that the Bulls should have sent their strongest side, but like Akra said, they will be going all out for it.
yeah.
What's your take
Yeah.
on the situation here?
Yeah, look, we haven't seen yet what team Dobbo is going to send to Lon, but I wondered if he was getting his excuses in early by the way he talked up to Lon
Yeah.
in one of the press conferences, calling them the team of glitterati, and it'll require Saturn and Uranus lining up with
To
somebody
align.
else in the booking if we to have any hope. Meanwhile, Toulon are like 11th place on the on the French top 14 log. They're having a poor season. They've won only one of their last 5 games or something. They're not the Toulon of old. But yeah, so I wonder if he's kind of just sort of talked them up for a reason, but we'll see. Um, the Sharks, look, they are kind of have got no option but
Yeah.
to give both competitions a full go, because at stake is a place in the Champions Cup next year,
Mm.
and that is lucrative. It's important for all their ambitions of where they want to go in the rugby world. For them to not make the Champions Cup next year will be disastrous. So they've got to give the Challenge Cup game against Connacht a full go on the weekend, and then still keep going in the URC. Because I think the URC, wow, man, I agree with John there. It's going to be hard for them to make it. They've got 4 games left. They have to win probably all 4. So their last 2 are against the Italian teams, Benetton and Zebri and Durban. So they've got to say we bank those. Those are non-negotiable. We will win.
Mm.
Not that those Benetton are pushovers. And then they've got to win their 2 games coming up in Wales. And Ospreys at home, and I think who's the other one? It's Scarlets or I forget the other one, but there's 2. I think it is the Scarlet. But those Welsh teams are not pushovers on their home grounds. I mean, the
Yeah.
Ospreys are quite a nuggety team. So I think, given that in mind, that it's not a given that the Sharks will win their 4 remaining games, they have to give Connacht the full go. And we haven't seen their touring squad yet, but I believe Eben will be making his comeback. And then just quickly on the Bulls, yeah, look, I mean, they are going in the same position as the Sharks, because even though they're 7th in the URC log, that is not a guarantee at this point that they couldn't drop to 9th if they lose a game or 2. So they've got to go full out in both competitions too.
Yeah, it's I think the Sharks with Eben coming back, that's a big boost for them.
Mm.
That's the type of
Mm,
caliber of player you actually want in these playoff pushes.
mm,
Um, I'm sort of curious to see how he would go. Is he gonna get? I think he's probably just gonna get about 40 minutes to start, maybe finding his legs, and
mm,
then have a full go throughout the season, because he is such an important player, not only for the Sharks but also for the Springboks. So to get
mm.
him up to speed over the
Yeah.
next, because he hasn't played any rugby for 12 weeks. And I mean, at his age, the rest was probably fantastic, but like a
Yeah.
good diesel engine, you
Mm,
want to just keep going and
Yeah.
keep going
yeah.
until you hit peak performance. But hopefully, he will hit the ground running.
Yeah.
And
And
and Sia as well. If they get a Sia boost, because he's obviously
mm,
not played the last couple of games with that calf injury, so if they get him as well, so that could be
yeah.
a boost, and the type of thing that could push them to try and compete in both
Yeah.
competitions.
Eben being there now this week in Galway, and playing, John, you're absolutely right. He could be the difference between that, or just that something that gives him that push now to kick on and finish the season. Because now I remember Eben you'll probably be feeling he's got a debt to pay to the Sharks. I mean,
Yeah.
he will have been feeling extremely guilty, and he would have been very apologetic to Marco Mazzotti, the Sharks owner, that their key man has disappeared for 12 weeks. So, a highly motivated Eben, wanting to do something, wanting to help the Sharks when they need it the most, could be vital for the Sharks' effort.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think it's interesting knowing that there's guys waiting to fire in the Champions Cup and Challenge Cup, but also knowing that their coaches might want to hold them back for games that might matter more, a bit more, just a bit more than the next two weekends. I mean, should the Stormers win against all odds on Saturday, they will most likely play a quarterfinal in Glasgow in the Champions Cup, that is. And they haven't had success in quarterfinals in Glasgow. So it's gonna be interesting. And then they come back, they play Connacht, who the Bulls will hope they beat in the URC, and then they face Glasgow again. So it's going to be an interesting 4 weeks for especially a team like the Stormers and the Bulls in terms of just what they are going to do with their stronger sides, taking on the European teams. In terms of the Sharks, they have a lineup injured, so I don't think they have the capacity to interchange their teams. So it's going to be all out, balls to the wall, like John like to say. And they must just go in every competition to get those wins. But yeah, Champions Cup, Challenge Cup, URC Parked. There's been some interesting developments on the international front. Guys, Rassie pulling a Rassie and bringing in what is it, a Welshman with English ties for 2026 and potentially beyond. Mike, I know
Mm,
you've done something on it,
yeah.
and then some movement in the second row of South African rugby. Injury to RG Snyman, interesting. Salman Murat, potential move to La Rochelle in France. And then JJ van der Mesh, playing out of his skin, looking for that number 4 jersey off the box after
Mm.
getting an alignment camp, a virtual alignment camp invite. So it looks like Rassie is locking up his staff for the World Cup, and then
Excuse the
the
pun.
locks. Mike?
Yeah, so this guy Joe Lewis, I must be honest, I don't really know the name. I know it now.
Mm, mm,
But I looked at his CV, and it's incredibly impressive. I mean, this guy clearly knows his stuff. I mean, doctorates in this and degrees in that, and all about analysis. And what must just remember that there's probably no one better than Rassie when it comes to analysis, because that's what this guy's going to do. So if this guy's impressed Rassie, then he must be pretty handy with a
yeah,
laptop.
yeah.
Yeah, and but wow, what a coup! I mean, this guy was in the England camp
England.
just like a fortnight ago,
Yeah.
in the England camp. And now he's coming and his next test match will be analyzing England for the Springboks.
All the state secrets. He's gonna bring all the state secrets, like a rogue double agent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So whipped out of Steve Borthwick's backroom staff and into the Springbok staff. Yeah, look, I mean, as I say, Rassie is a champion at what this guy is going to be doing. And of course, Rassie doesn't have the time to sit, for hours and hours in front of a laptop. But he's got someone who he knows can do the job for him. So, I mean,
Mm.
you never know when this dream team of Rassi's is going to be complete, but every now and again, I mean, now he's got a Welshman, he's got Irishman, he's got New Zealanders. I mean, who's next before we get to Australia?
Yeah,
Um,
no, it's the timing is is very good for this one. And I think Rassi, what one thing we can also say about him is he's not shy to bring in guys from
Mm,
outside the country
mm,
when it comes to expertise. If he thinks he's maybe lacking something in this country that he can't find, and obviously Felix Jones probably also had a hand in this, having worked with him also not too
oh,
long
yeah,
good
ago.
point.
So
Good point.
and he trusts Felix. We know
yeah.
Rassi
Mm,
trusts Felix, and he
Mm,
trusts
mm,
Felix's opinion.
mm,
So Felix would have told him, "Look here, this guy. I think this guy is what we need.
mm,
Let's get
yeah.
him in, and it's gonna help." But in terms of the locks, and I'm really excited to see JJ Van der Mesh back in the mix. I think Mike mentioned that he may have gone off the rails in these last couple of months at the Sharks, maybe, and he had to go find himself again in England. And he's
Mm,
playing some great rugby. But the thing that I like the most about him being sort of being pulled into the fold after Arceus Nijman's injury is because they are very similar players. They are both big boys who can also um, sort of do their bit in the tight loose when it comes to offloading in the tackle,
mm, yeah.
good line out competing, but also they've got that power and ability also to do these little offloads, and it's a similar type of player to Ergie Snyman. It's just about the experience now, trying to get him up to speed at the international level. We all know he's got massive potential. We saw that coming through the schoolboy ranks, coming through the Sharks' ranks, but now it seems like he's got that maturity,
Mm.
which he's added to his game, and hopefully, we talk about the depth of rugby players in this country is unbelievable. And here's another guy coming out of left field, coming
Yeah.
to join the box. It's incredible.
I'm very happy with that development. Someone who's obviously been in the junior system, so he's had a taste of see national rugby on a junior level. What was interesting for me is the news of Salman heading over to France.
mm.
Ahead of a World Cup year. You don't often see that in a 2026-27 season that although it's not been announced yet, there's strong links that he is heading that way. Uh, uh, I don't know, Mark. How do you think this move will pan out? Because I mean, he captained the Springboks last year, and that is now taking him further away from Rassie. And Rassie has mentioned in the past that he would prefer, and that's a big reason
Mm.
why Sia came back as well. He would prefer his captain to be as close as possible to him. Do you think that will at all impact further captaincy for Salman if he does head over to France?
Yeah, look, I mean, this news actually caught me by surprise, and you
Mm,
have to think that where there's smoke, there's fire. Usually, these these stories are correct when it comes to
mm,
movement. And I'm a bit dumbfounded about it because it doesn't look like a strategic move or clever strategic move to me. Unless he's had honest talks with Rassie and
mm.
maybe there's something we don't know about
Yeah,
his future there. But I can't imagine that he doesn't have a future when he has captained the Springboks several
yeah.
times and he's an experienced, very good rugby player. Um, so yeah, with Rassie announcing that he's bringing new guys in like JJ van der Mest and Salman's now saying, well, I'm going the other opposite direction. Um, it doesn't make sense to me. I don't
Mm.
think it's a clever move from Salman's perspective.
Yeah,
I
I
think
wonder. Sorry, John. I wonder. There might have been, usually when players head overseas, it's obviously they know they are getting closer to that side of their rugby career, and maybe he's run out of time in terms of his Bochum pony contract. That could have been
Mm.
one of the things. And it just makes sense financially. If that happens, it makes sense financially to go and experience club rugby in a France or Japan, where he can actually make extra money in terms of that. I know money would not have been the only thing for him to decide that, yes, look, maybe I must go over there. But judging from the response on social media, the French are quite happy that they're getting someone, or that they're potentially getting someone of his caliber into their system. I mean, Will Skelton, those guys are getting a bit aged, if I can call it that. So a 28-year-old muscle lock from South Africa, I mean, they will welcome him with open arms.
Yeah, I think also it's maybe for him a good move to try and get away from some of the unfair scrutiny he's maybe
100%.
been
Yeah.
under.
Yeah.
Um, Unfairly so, I think most of the time. I think um, he's been labeled sort of people sort of compare him to the likes of Eben, and he's a completely different player to Eben. As a number four, he's a workhorse. He hits a lot of rucks. He
Good
works
tackles.
really hard. He's very reliable in the lineup, but he's not gonna run over players as with the likes of Eben. That is not his strong point. But he can defend hard in the trams. He's really good, and so I think maybe it's also about maybe just starting afresh, maybe
Mm.
getting a new perspective
Yeah.
overseas, getting away from the scrutiny, because unfairly so, I think he's suffered a lot of criticism about his play. Injuries have definitely not helped him because
Yeah.
it feels like his career has been stop start, where he's just getting into a flow, playing some good rugby, then gets injured. Then you have to come back again after the injury and try and get back to your best, and that sort of has hindered him. So I think this could be a nice fresh start with him to get himself mentally back into a situation where getting over those types of injuries and just enjoying his rugby and not feeling
Mm.
like he's got the responsibility of being Stormers captain, backup Springbok captain. Just go play your rugby and play the rugby you are known to play and can
Yeah.
play.
Yeah. No, it's certainly some interesting movements in and outside the South African rugby sphere. But we'll keep in touch with that. It's going to be a URC break for the Lions, but then there's some European rugby coming up for the three other South African franchises, and we'll also keep our finger on that. Guys, thanks for joining me again. And also thanks for tuning in. It's been another episode of The Last Word on Rugby, where we chat all things Springbok rugby and then the South African franchises in the United Rugby Championship and the EPCR competitions. If you haven't yet, click that like button, subscribe to our channel at the Clutch ZA on YouTube, and we will be back with some more news. Hopefully, three more wins for South African sides as they look to maintain momentum heading into the crucial stages of both competitions, especially that URC. South Africa's banking on four teams in the top eight. John, Mike, thanks again for the chat, and we will speak again next week, hopefully with some more interesting news. Cheers, guys.